Hello. So this is going to be a small update to the budget Smite Juggernaut that I posted a couple of days ago. A lot of you seem to really enjoy the look of the build, and a lot of you have started playing it and having a lot of success with it. So that makes me really happy. So I made a few small changes and found some new things that will make the build even stronger. So obviously this is going to be, the entire showcase will be without ashes, without purity of fire. We'll solely focus on this amulet here, the replica Dragonfang's flight, which gives us level of all our smite gems, more mana reservation efficiency, and even some elemental resistances. The last thing here, items and gems, have reduced attribute requirements. We don't really care about that. So what are the changes that I made? Wait, small disclaimer. This helmet, you do not need this helmet, okay? The budget version of this build that uses a Alpha's Howl instead of this is completely fine. It just needs to have the similar enchant that I mentioned in the initial build guide, where it has to be either Purity of Elements, Grace, Determination, or Wrath. Has 30% increased mana reservation efficiency. It has to be one of those and you're good to go. So there's that. Everything else is exactly the same. The only changes that I made were to the one sec, let me grab the jewels. Yeah, so the only changes I made to the build were mostly to the passive tree. So because of the fact that we are using a replica Dragonfang's flight and not using purity of fire, you can see that I have 46 mana that's just there, right? It's not being used for anything. I just have 46 mana. Now I don't need that 46 mana for anything. In fact, having mana actually hurts us, because mana siphoners actually do a lot of damage to us because of that extra mana that we have. So how do we work around it? How do we reduce that? Well, I don't have regret orbs. Do you? Regrets? No? Okay. Hang on. Regrets. Come on. Nope. Alright. I'm going to go buy some regrets from Kari Shores. So while we're loading into this area, that'll take a while. Point being, we need to lower the amount of mana reservation efficiency we have, because with ashes, I'll show you, I am capped out on my mana. Like, I have almost no mana left over for anything. I can tank mana siphoners because I have no mana for them to siphon and hurt me with. Okay, so let's just buy a few regrets. If you don't know, you can come to this vendor in the epilogue and just upgrade all of your currency. If you need scouring orbs, they cost chance orbs. If you need alterations, they cost augmentations. Regrets cost scouring orbs, and so on and so forth. Smaller trade, I'll just invite him in here. So now we're gonna go back, and yeah, so using the replica Dragonfang's flight and dropping one aura actually gives us a whole lot more breathing room to do the other things that we want to do. So what are those things? First, let me quickly show you the fact that when we are using this, right, when I'm using my ashes, I have no mana, right? This is 11 mana. If I drop a single mana reservation thing, I will not be able to reserve all of my mana and have all of my auras, right? But if this guy can accept, all right, we'll go back to this, do this, an aura turned off, it's like grace. So we go over to our passive tree and we actually drop this. Boop. Look at us, we're fine. And we can drop one more. Boop. And we go down to 1 mana. This makes us effectively immune to mana siphoners and you can use these points in a way better way, because that's one of the changes that you should be making if you are using the Dragonfang amulet. Alright, so a small thing just to answer this question before anyone asks. Overcharge is here because I felt like using an inspired learning with my setup, because I was doing a lot of mapping with a lot of rare monsters, and inspired learning just makes it feel so much nicer, so I just added that in. If you want to do this with the ashes, you can. You just have to, instead of anointing it, you have to actually path over to this and use 2 passive skills to get here. But anyway, so currently we actually have 4 passive points left. Took 2 over here, and some other things to note are the following. In order to use my inspired learning, I took these 2 points here and I removed them from here, from the +1 max fire res. Although if you are not using an inspired learning, you can just take these 2 out and put them back in here. Right, so besides that, we also, you might be asking, wait, wasn't this the spot where you had the Watcher's Eye? Where did you get more jewel sockets? Well, we get our jewel sockets from down here. We path over this way, 1, 2, 3, 4 points this way, and I put my Watcher's Eye here, and I pathed over to this jewel socket for just an extra jewel socket that I can use for pretty much anything. And this 1 jewel that I got for a divine gives me around 1 million more damage, so that's awesome. Now, what about if you do not want to use an inspired learning? So then, take the inspired learning off, right? Fuck that off. And you can either, you can either do this, if I can find, just ignore how horrible my stash is. Right, you can, instead of an inspired learning, you can just slap in another jewel. And this is basically exactly the same as this one. 4686. 4686. This is the exact same. I think it has the exact same name. It actually does have the exact same name, which is pretty rare. 2 different people were selling these, so I don't know. But yeah, each of these cost me a divine, so I can slap both of these in and just get way more damage this way. So then, if you're going to be wondering, what about the anoint? Well, that's where things get very interesting. So you can actually get almost close, very close, almost the same amount of damage that you would have with an ashes if you simply anoint Whispers of Doom. Okay, so let's go over to the POB so I can show this to you. Right, I'm going to turn this off. Right, so right now, this is the tree. This is the tree with the inspired learning squeezed into it. So we're going to take this. We are going to remove that in a sec. We aren't using these 2 nodes. And I actually spec'd, this is for those people who are a bit lower level. So this is currently a level 93. We aren't taking this, we're taking the Juggernaut Ascendancy instead. I'm actually going to spec out of this, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes in a separate section of this video. So this is the current tree. Oops. There. So we are a level 93 character. We go back to these jewels. We are a level 96 character at the moment. Right, so same as in game, we have 4 extra points left. So where do we use these 4 extra points for even more damage? So I'm actually going to leave that up to whoever wants to innovate. You can use those points for more survivability, more max res. You can use those points over here, more armor. Armor is more damage and more survivability. You can use that here for more life. You can use it here for more life. You can use it here for some more max res. Like you can really get a lot more max res by putting those points here. right? You can do a lot of different things with these 4 points. It's completely up to you, but reaching a level 100 or even level 96 is a bit difficult. So I'm going to leave this at this point here at level 96 instead of a level 100 tree. But yes, so now what about Whispers of Doom? Well, Amulet right now is already anointed with Whispers of Doom. Everything else is exactly the same gear that I'm currently wearing, right, except for the amulet. All the flasks are active in our DPS calculation because, well, we use all of them all the time. They're always on in maps. So yes, at 1 million armor with this setup, no purity of fire, no nothing. Our mana cost is low right now because of something stupid. There we go. 1 unreserved mana. So with Whispers of Doom, we can put in elemental weakness in this empty glove slot here because we are not using purity of fire. So you can put this in and self-cast elemental weakness on enemies, mostly on big bosses, because on rares, you don't need it on rares ever. If you've played this build already, you know we smash everything to bits. So if I turn this on, we go up to 17.7 million damage from 15 to 7.7. So this is giving us 2.6 million damage, which is basically 15% more damage from this one anoint on the amulet and one gem socket in our build. Albeit, yes, this is 3 golden oils of an anoint, which is around 90 C per oil, 270 C, which is about a divine and 40 C. It's a little expensive, but it is extremely worth it. You should definitely go for it. So that is primarily the tree changes that I put in. Also, yeah, my bad, this inspired learning shouldn't be here. Instead of the inspired learning, because we won't be using that, we will be using another damage jewel, right? You can also go for a jewel that has a lot of life and survivability if you want to. You can get a jewel that has armor, evasion, and life, and just feel tankier, I guess. But this build does not need tank. The only thing we can die to are like really big chunky hits. Otherwise, we just regen through everything and mitigate everything. Right, so I copy that gem, I go here and I just slap that gem in here. See, exactly the same gem. Create, add to build, and instead of the inspired learning, you put that in, and we have 18.6 million damage with this setup. Now, if I were to switch over to my ashes, right, I actually have less damage, but wait, I have to turn on purity of fire. Where is it? Here. Turn this on, and I have 20 million damage, right? So you, without a 40 divine amulet, and with ashes, you also need to do this, right? So you have to be higher level to use ashes, and you have to spend 40 divines on it. So I would recommend to just not use ashes, have way less overall survivability, because you can see our fire max hit is 111,000 with purity of fire, and without it, it drops down to 51. So you know, we do get a way less tanky without purity of fire, but that's fine, because who needs that much tank when bosses are just going to melt in front of your face anyway, right? And if you saw the video where I killed the Searing Exarch blindfolded, or like with a hand over my eyes, you saw I was using Replica Dragonfang without Whispers of Doom, without Purity of Fire, and I was still able to tank all of the balls with like 2000 HP. So it's really nice. So that's mostly it. One tiny thing about the Watcher's Eye is, if you are not using Purity of Fire, please get a Watcher's Eye that has a Purity of Elements mod instead, that gives you physical damage from hits taken as fire or cold or lightning while affected by purity of elements, not purity of fire. This is a dead mod if you're not using purity of fire, obviously. Right, and that's basically it. One small little tech update, by the way. If you notice, in our configuration, I have frenzy charges enabled and endurance charges enabled, right? Both of them. Also, we do get fortified if you are using Vigilant Strike. We are fortified around like 1545 in maps and versus bosses. That also raises up our defenses quite a bit. If you look, we go up to 51,000 effective HP instead of 43. Pretty nice. So we have those configurations set in place for two reasons. One, if we are mapping, we will always have our frenzy charges because of blood rage. We'll always have endurance charges, everything. But if we are bossing, we won't have frenzy charges, right? Our endurance charges might take a little bit of time to stack up, especially with the Maven, who autos you like so slowly. So you really need to rely on the balls that she spits out to give you the endurance charges. But what if I told you can just get them instantly instead? This is a around 30C boots that give you minimum endurance charge equal to maximum while stationary, minimum frenzy equal to maximum while stationary, and minimum power equal to maximum while stationary. So we have about a max of 5 endurance, 3 frenzy, and like 3 power. So if I were to put this on, it's actually 4 power because of my garbage anoint at the moment, but I'm using inspired learning, so it's useful. If I do this, you can see that we have all of them, but it says this while we are stationary. Well, if we start moving, you can see that we lose the rest of them, but we keep the endurance. But there's a intended use mechanic tech of the game that if I were to put this on, right, and just swap back over to my boots, I have all of them for a duration of time. Right, and I can just the 3 auras that I have in my boost: vitality, clarity, and precision. I just have them all in my secondary bar that I can just immediately turn on by just doing this. They all turn on. Right, so if I'm about to do a boss, I just do this, and now I have all of my charges up, and I can just full DPS a boss, and with 9-second long charges, the boss will die in this time anyway, right? So yeah, definitely get these boosts if you want to do bossing more smoothly. So yes, that's the update to the build. You can do everything you want with this build. All types of content are viable. You can do Harbinger, you can do Essence, you can do Delirium, you can do Blight, you can do Heist, you can do Beyond, Ultra Farming, Rituals, Harvest. You can do everything on this build. There is no limit. You can do Legions as well, because Wall Smite gives this massive AoE clearage. So yes, you can do everything you want on this build. You can also do Wave 30 Simulacrum. I have done Wave 30 Simulacrum using a replica Dragon's Flight, although the later waves do get a little spooky without the extra resistance we get from Purity of Fire. So without that, you can do them. One small thing, if you are going to be doing any simulacrums, you need to take the note here that applies 10% of your armor to chaos damage taken from hits, so that if you roll the modifier that monsters deal X amount of damage as extra chaos, this helps tremendously. If we go to the POB, right now our chaos max hit is 17,000. If I were to put 1 point into this, look at how high that goes. It goes up to 48,000 instantly, which basically makes us immune to chaos damage from hits. So the Conqueror, Alhazman, that gives chaos damage, you're fine. You're just Chayula, chaos damage, you're fine. Simulacrum, chaos damage, you're fine. So yes, hope this little build update video helped you guys. And is there anything else that I want to say? Nope, that's it. Try not to die to degen. Bye bye.
The end